In this slidecast, we're going to look at the consultant, which is another one of the main parties in an engineering project. So a consultant is also known as the engineer. Their main responsibility is design. That means that they will, if the client comes to them and asks for something to be built, they will investigate the site, they'll do the geotech, they'll do the surveying, any other investigations, they'll look at the groundwater and that sort of business. Then they'll develop a design to satisfy the client's needs. So if the client comes to the consultant and says, I want a road built, they'll do all the investigations and then they'll design a road that meets the client's requirements, that's the right size, the right strength. Once he's done the design, he produces what's called tender documents, and what tender documents do is they define what needs to be built. You can't just tell the contractor to go and build a road. You need to tell them how wide the road's supposed to be, how deep the base course is supposed to be, what sort of material the base course is going to be made out of. So that's what the tender documents have. In addition to that, they have a contractual agreement between the client and the contractor. So the consultant produces all that, and once those tender documents have been produced, the contractor knows what is required to build the works. In addition to that, sometimes the consultant is the facilitator, the project manager. That means they are the ones that make it happen. The client's not there every day making sure things happen. They usually get the consultant to do that. So that means they liaise with the client, they find out what they want. The consultant will usually develop the program, what is going to be built, what is going to be done when. They're also going to develop the budget, which is what money needs to be expended, when does it need to be expended, and how much. So that's called cash flow. So the consultant will usually do all that and implement the project work, so make it happen. The last thing they'll do is when the construction is actually happening, they will make sure that the construction is being constructed as they designed it, that the right materials are being used, that the works are as shown on the drawings. In addition to that, they'll also be doing the administration. So they'll be doing the site diaries, the progress payments, contractors' claims. In other words, they're doing the paperwork involved in it. And lastly, in most contracts there is a position called the engineer to the contract, and that's a formal position. There is a contractual relationship between the client and the contractor, and the engineer to the contract is the mediator, the judge between them. If they've got an argument, the engineer to the contract is the one that steps in and resolves that dispute. It's also the one that decides how much the contractor should be paid and then tells the client how much it needs to be due. So there's those three things that the consultant does. Now most consultancy companies, or the smaller ones anyhow, don't have a full range of engineering projects, engineering skills. Big ones like Becker's and SKM, they have the whole range of engineers. Smaller ones don't. So the smaller ones need to hire sub-consultants. So for example, if you are a engineering company that is expert in designing subdivisions, it may be that you don't have people that can do the geotechnical investigations. It may be that you don't have surveyors. So you need to hire those, and there's usually specialist consultancies that will do that. So you'll go to if you need a survey done, you'll go to a survey consultancy and ask them to do that work on your behalf. So you've got all of these sub-consultants here, and it all depends on what you can do and what you can't do, but you always do it with sub-consultants. I mentioned that there's the engineer is the project manager and designer. Sometimes those roles are split, and that there is a specialist project manager appointed by the client, and then the consultant is usually just the designer, does the design work, and then may or may not do the monitoring of the works. So that you need to be aware that role of project manager and designer can be split between two companies. So that concludes this slidecast about the engineer, also known as the consultant.